from WKRG Plus, your local election headquarters. This is Politics with Pete.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Peter Albrecht, and we are discussing Mobile politics as we get ready for the big municipal election coming up on August 26th. Right now, we're talking about the District 7 City Council race, and I'm joined by one of the two candidates in that race, Robert Battles. Robert, great to see you.
Great to see you, Peter.
All right. Well, tell me about District 7. You know, we have a new map this year.
That's right.
What are some of the geographical changes? And then we'll talk about some of the demographic changes.
Well, most of the geographical changes has been to expand toward Cody Road, which include Archer. Then on the left side, it goes all the way up to Greelot Road. And that's probably primarily from what my knowledge is.
Okay, so if people are unfamiliar, this would be the pretty much the northwest quadrant of the city.
That's correct. And what I encourage people, if they have any difficulty about where they vote, that the voter registration office is 21251-574-8586, and you can call and you can get your exactly voting location.
Yeah, and the city of Mobile has a decent map on their website as well. We can kind of go in and see that. Okay, District 7 was very much discussed when the new maps were being drawn, and it was created as a fourth majority African American district.
That's right.
There was a lot of discussion about that. What are your thoughts, and how important do you think it is to elect an African American in that district?
Well, from the beginning, Peter, when the concept of the supermajority government was evolved, I was in the meeting with State Senator Michael Fickers, who was the architect of the District 7. The purpose of the District 7 government was to get African American participation, as it was before the City Council government itself, because prior to the City Council government, we had the three commissioners, which did not categorically give African Americans active participation. But with the City Council government, the purpose is for leverage for the black community. It's not, you know, most people think that it's about, well, the blacks are trying to take over. We're not trying to take over. All we want is an equitable position and equitable participation in the government. The government itself borders upon, when you look at the majority of the district, here's their height, over in Mobile Terrace, over in Orchard and Kings Branch, and all of those down Moffitt Road there, the majority is African American. Well, Peter, the greatest impact that for me as a candidate is to look at what is the future for African Americans, especially in light of the new Trump administration, big beautiful bill, because it's going to have a devastating effect on the quality of life. But my campaign is just not about African American. My campaign is about the district. I think my Gina Gregory has done a great job. But my only problem is that what we had over $58 million in American Rescue Funds. We got $78 million in CIP funds, with $4 million of those go to the council person. We got federal grants. We got 65% of the budget is sales tax, and then 35% of the budget is public safety. That's just ridiculous, you know. And how you gonna solve crime, Peter, if you don't know a criminal? I think that I bring a great asset to the community, but the community is just not, I graduated in the first class from the University of South Alabama in 1969. So when I look at the racial composition of the city, and I look at the concepts of the people and their ideology, it kind of frightens me, because with the new beautiful bill, it don't matter whether you're black or white.
Yeah, well, let's talk about, we'll kind of break down some of the things you talked about there. Do you think the supermajority has worked well to this point for the city?
I do not.
And why is that?
Well, the original concept of Senator Figgers was to have a supermajority government, because I was there the night that Senator Ann Besto called the senator when we had a meeting. She said to the senator, she said, well, Senator Figgers, ain't no way in the hell I could let this supermajority pass, because it puts too much power in the hands of African Americans. Well, the senator, being eloquent as he was, turned around and said, well, you tell them same people out there who told you not to pass it that I'll shut Mobile down on Monday. Well, it passed, but since its inception, it has, look at Davis Avenue, look at St. Stephen Road, look at the parts of the African American, like Hillsdale Heights, where I'm planning to build a new stadium over there. Look at Mobile Terrace, where I worked on a grant with the Mobile Water Company in 2099 to get sewer because they had septic tanks over there. So the action of the council person is not about race, it's about bringing about a systemic change so African Americans can share in the same values as every citizen within the district.
Now you mentioned some of the cuts that the city could be looking at. There's the COVID money obviously is gone.
That's right.
Trump wants to get rid of CBD grants. How's the city going to financially manage a lot of these things that they want to do without that revenue?
Well, without that revenue, it's going to be very difficult. But not only without the revenue that it's going to be difficult, without the actual participation of African Americans in the government is going to be difficult. Because when you look at the cuts that are proposed under the new beautiful bill, what you're going to see is you're going to see they're going to cut Medicaid. Well, when they cut Medicaid, what that does, it don't matter whether you're black or white. When you cut Medicaid, you also cut Medicaid pays the premiums for Medicare. So like my premium is $200. Okay, should I be cut? That $200 will either have to come from somewhere. Well, so what you're doing, you put an economic burden on the masses of the people that they can't really stand.
And looking specifically at District 7, what would be your, let's say, top 3 items that you want to address in the district?
Well, the top 3 items that I wanted to do in the district is I want to bring equity. That was the whole purpose of the supermajority form of government. It was to leverage the government so that you would have 4 votes which for a simple majority, but at the same time it would take 5 votes of the council which would require African American participation so that you could have the high department heads, you could have a significant impact on changes. Under this new beautiful bill that we got coming in, what is my opponent going to do with the new militarization of the police come in, where they're stopping and frisk coming back? As I ride throughout the city, I see African Americans who are being pulled over to the side in violation of that 4th Amendment rights of such and seizure and not being placed on arrest. So it's going to really take someone who's really concerned about the quality of life for everybody without regards to race, creed, color, or ethnicity.
Do you worry about citizens being protected because people are very concerned about crime?
Yeah.
And you hear a lot on the other side, which is, we need to be cracking down. Yeah. You're saying we've got to balance this out with the protection of our civil rights.
Well, you got to balance it out. Look at this, Peter. How in the hell are you going to solve crime if you don't know a criminal? So my years of life in Mobile, I've grown up in the African American community, but at the same time though, I see, when I rolled down the street the other day, I saw about 14 to 15 young African American females and teenagers. They were around playing some little game like we used to play Ring Around the Roses. But what they were doing was very vulgar. And it's a culture. Let's take, for example, over in Hillsdale Heights. There are 1,000 immigrant Africans who live in Hillsdale Heights. So why can't we look at a financial improvement in the city of Mobile to increase for some of that deficit? Africa Town, I started the process. Joe Bonner and I invited me to Washington, D.C. to speak before the Library of Congress, but more importantly though, the Africans who live in Hillsdale Heights, that I would take the fairgrounds and use it as a beacon of hope to express the culture. The scripture says, Peter, that our people fail for a lack of knowledge. Well, what knowledge do they lack that will cause them to emit the types of behaviors that they do? And it's the knowledge of themselves. With the cuts in DEI and all those other programs at the University of South Alabama, which I'm an alumni, it is very devastating.
Let's talk about in District 7. You are overseeing, let's say, some of the big institutions for the city. For example, the airport, University of South Alabama, and the tennis center, which is a huge economic driver. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts about those institutions?
Well, let me tell you what I thought about it. I had the pleasure to go down and visit the director of the tennis center. trying to find out what could I do as a council person to make a systematic change that would improve. He informed me that they had put in a $19 million proposal in order to expand so that we could be competitive with other cities and bringing in national attendance events. But the problem is indoor versus outdoor. When you look at the climate in Mobile, when you look at the systemic change, that weather, as it rains sometimes, you're not a weatherman, but anyway, but what you can see is, though, you can see that we need to try to move toward getting those tennis courts inside. Now, whatever my competitor has done, I support wholeheartedly. I will work as far as to upgrade it, but my greatest impetus will be is leverage, which was the intent of the Mobile City Council from the beginning. When you look at for District 7 alone, there were $23 million that was spent on Ziegler Boulevard. That's fine. But at the same time, though, with $58 million in the American Rescue Fund, $78 million in the CIP Fund, and the federal grants, 65% of the budget is sales tax, and 35% is crime, you have to really focus on what is it going to take so that the people themselves, see, this thing ain't about race. Most people are trying to project me, well, he's trying to take over at the African American. I'm not taking over. What I'm trying to do is offer the same quality of life for all citizens without regard to race, creed, nor color, or ethnicity. But more importantly, though, is the fairground. The fairground is a great asset to District 7. I plan on my administration to use the fairground to counter wave off the negativism as a result of the Trump tax cuts. What I plan to use the fairground is not only for culture, where the African American community could be built up to exhibit pride, but more importantly, though, to use it so that when they cut the Social Security, I want to have a place that my district people can come over and get information and sit down. When they cut the SNAPs, you know, they've tried to raise the SNAP age from 17 to 18, which is the minimum for the gender, down to 7. So we got a big job to do.
We're talking about the airport. You know, our commercial flights are going to be moving downtown.
They are.
What are your thoughts about how Bates Field should be developed for the future?
Look here, Bates Field, I'm old enough to build Brooklyn Field. Batesville and Brooklyn is two different, but Brooklynfield has always been a major airport hub for the city of Mobile. It's where when the spaceship couldn't land nowhere else, where did they land at Brooklynfield? Right. So, but when you're looking at the economic compatibility of Pensacola, Mississippi, and all the other regional airports that's in competition with Mobile, the only problem that I had with the airport authority is that Mr. Kerr, who was the director, he built the airport up and everything. Then for some reason they never did explain. He exited, you know. But
well, what should happen out at what is our current airport now, which is going to become the old airport next year? What do you think we need to do out there?
Well, I think an assessment would have to be done. I think the feasibility study could be done because when most of the passenger thing is going to Brooklyn, then there always is some use for that. But I just have to do a research on it, do a feasibility study.
All right, we've got one final question for you here. What do you think about the mayor's race? We have 4 candidates vying for that spot. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thought for the mayor's race, you know I'm black and I'm gonna vote for black. Not because she's African American, but because the demographics itself suggests that we should have, when people are black, of African American ethnicity, when they see someone, we need role models. See, we need role models so that our girls don't have to be the runaway girls. When I ride down the street, Peter, and I see girls on crack and lost their mind, it is because of their identification. I graduated from the University of South Alabama in 1969 in psychology, and what psychology teaches me is that we are our environment. So if we change the environment, it's going to even be better for your child.
All right, Robert Battles, thank you very much for being with us. Good luck in the race. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with more on District 7. And welcome back, everyone. We just heard from Robert Battles running for City Council District 7, and we now have the incumbent in the race, Gina Gregory, here with us. Thanks for being here, Gina.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to talk with everybody. And this is kind of old stomping grounds for me, so nice to be here.
WKRG Studios, for sure. All right, Gina, you've been in the City Council for quite some time now. I want to ask you first off, did you consider running for mayor? A lot of people thought that you might run for mayor. And why did you decide to continue on in the City Council?
I have to tell you, I did give it some thought. 10 minutes, maybe, half hour, I did give it some thought. And I was really very appreciative of the support that I received for people telling me that they thought I should consider running. There was some polling that was going on, and it showed I polled very well across the city. So again, I was very happy to see that. Made me feel good about the years that I have been on the council and what I've been able to do. But in talking with Todd, my husband, and my mom, who lives in town now, we just decided, kind of in a group, like thinking that it just wasn't really the right time for me. My health is good. Breast cancer has been in remission for going on 8 years now, so that really wasn't an issue. But we just decided that it really wasn't the right time for me to do it, if ever, and that running for my seat again was the best place for me to be at this point in my life and in my family's lives. And, I just finally kind of came to that realization.
It's a different commitment.
It's a different
time commitment. Put it
it is a different time commitment, not just on the campaign trail, because the campaign is grueling. If you see these mayoral candidates, they are going every day, all day long, night, weekends, it doesn't matter. It is go, go, go. And then that's kind of the fun part, because when you are elected and you're in that office, that's when the work really begins and the stress really begins, and everybody wants you everywhere all at the same time, and you're getting kudos from maybe some people, and on the other side you're getting criticism, and you have to be able to balance things. And so just with all of that in mind, we just decided that no, you've been on the council a long time, you're in an important position, this is an important race, an important election time for the entire city, and it was just a better place for me to be back on this city council. And if I'm elected, which I certainly hope I will be, I will now be the longest serving and oldest member of the city council. I used to could tell everybody, yes, I'm the longest serving, but I'm not the oldest. So now that will change.
All right. Well, and speaking of change, District 7 has changed considerably since the last election. It's now a majority African American district. It was created that way to reflect the changing demographics of the city. Your opponent says a black person should be holding that position because that's how it was created. What's your response to that?
I think the person that holds the office should be the one who is most qualified. It doesn't matter your race, your ethnicity, your gender. It should be the best person qualified to fill that position. And fortunately, for 20 years, people in my district have thought that I was the most qualified person. My district has always been the most diverse district of any district in the city, and we've been very proud of that, working together to do so many things in District 7 and building those relationships that it really takes to build trust and to get things done. So we have a 53% voting age majority of African Americans. However, that doesn't mean that my district has not been a majority African American district for years. It's just the voting age has changed and the district lines have changed too. And I have taken in some new places, lost some others. I have been working it hard, meeting the new people. I'd already met a lot of them because in some ways it's a homecoming for 2 neighborhoods. And then further out in Kings Branch and those areas out there, they are new. Orchard Estates, the one side of Orchard Estates has been in the city, the other side, on the other side of North Cody, has not been, so we have brought them in. And I've met a lot of people and done a lot in these districts and, in the neighborhoods, and everybody really is interested in the same things. And I am the best person, have been the best person, will be the best person to represent everybody in the district.
Is that a challenge when the new annexed areas, a large portion, come into your district, new people, not really sure what being in the city and the services are all about? Talk about that experience working with those new citizens, and if you'd like to see more annexation.
Well, we'll start with the first part, and that is helping everyone in the newly annexed areas understand what the city services are, If you have problems, who do you contact and what to expect? We did a lot of that during the annexation move. I helped a lot going to the meetings, going door to door, and talking with our prospective new citizens, and answered a lot of those questions back then. So now we're 2 years in. We're 2 years into the newly annexed areas coming in. And mostly the questions are about the city services. Sometimes it's garbage and trash hasn't been picked up. Who do they contact? You know, what's going on with this? Sometimes they contact me directly and I'm able to find out for them and respond and let them know, you know, what's happening. The other things really are more about how do we get in line for some of these things like street resurfacing or sidewalks, and what do we do if there's a pothole or a dog's running loose, things like that. And I also have gotten a lot of questions, especially in Kings Branch, about traffic enforcement. We need speed bumps out there, so I've started that process with them, trying to get speed bumps set up. Also in Orchard Estates, we've had some problems with people who actually live in the neighborhood, who drive around the back of the neighborhood and go down some of these straightaways to get out onto North Cody, who are going way too fast. So I've been working with some of those residents as well to get them speed bumps and to provide traffic enforcement out there. A lot of times before we can get speed bumps in, I can get police officers out there in the traffic department to monitor the speeds and try to slow people down and kind of get it in their heads like, oh yeah, you know, the cops may be out here, we better slow it down or we're going to get a ticket. So those are the things that I am seeing with our new residents, and they're really excited about being able to vote, you know, this time. And they're excited about being in the city. I think the traffic, not traffic, but the garbage and trash collection has been just a big bonus for them. Making sure that the police can come out and actually patrol was a big bonus as well. So I'm excited to see them coming to the polls this time, and also excited to get their votes. Let me swallow it and get a breath. I know I'm talking fast. We've only got 15 minutes.
Which is more annexation.
And I know that's been a discussion with the mayoral candidates, and annexation can be good, but it only comes and can be good if the citizens want it. So it's up to the residents who live in some of these areas to come to the city and express their desire to possibly be annexed. And then that can start the process going. The city should not and does not generally go after areas to say, hey, we want you, come in, we've done this research, we think you would be better off. If the citizens don't want it, that's the end of it. And we as city council members and as the mayor have to be very careful and judicious about how we handle this, because when we do take in new areas, we have to be able to afford to provide those services. We talk about all these services, you know, that the city will provide them, but if we don't have the resources to provide, you know, those kinds of services, then there's no reason to even continue the discussion. So it all has to be part of it. We probably will talk more about annexation in the next 4 years. I mean, it always comes up in some shape or another. But whether it happens, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Tell me about your biggest accomplishments in District 7.
You know, I've thought a lot about that because in District 7, I have what I like to refer to as the transformational projects or legacy projects, just like, you know, we have in the city. And for me, the biggest transformational project to happen in recent years is the widening of Ziegler Boulevard. You probably remember 20 years ago, we've been talking about it that long. So when Ziegler was widened, and everything on the medians, on the rights of ways were cleaned up, it has made the biggest difference in what that whole stretch of Ziegler Boulevard looks like. The mowing is great. They've cut all the underbrush around the trees on the rights of ways, and it has made such a difference in just the look and the feel for Ziegler Boulevard. And of course, too, the focus or the goal was to help with traffic flow. And now that east-west corridor there moves a lot quicker, and you always have, there's a silver lining and then there's a good and the bad, you know, because with the good comes the traffic flows and it looks great, and we finally gotten what we've worked for many, many years. The bad side is that it's widened, it's 4 lanes, and cars are taking advantage of that and driving very fast.
What? People driving fast, I can't believe.
Oh, I know, running red lights. But so that really is kind of the downside. We've had to have traffic enforcement come out because it's 40 miles an hour out there, but people are going a lot. Sometimes you'll see them 50 miles an hour, or seems like more. And so we've had to do some education, bring traffic enforcement out to slow people down. But that really has been a transformational project. Another one that is not complete but is underway is Langen Park. We've done a lot of work out there so far with renovating pavilions. We redid the amphitheater, built some new restrooms, and now we're getting ready to start the dredging. I hoped I would have a start date for you today, but we're not quite there yet. We do have the notice to proceed, and they can bring their equipment out. They just can't actually start digging the gunk out of the lake just yet. But that too will be a huge project, very transformational for the entire district. So those are either done or underway, but the next one has to be widening Cody Road from Airport Boulevard to Howells Ferry Road. That has been waiting a very long time. It is a bottleneck every afternoon when there is an event at the fairgrounds.
That's awful. Traffic
is just backed up. You're stuck. You can't go anywhere. There's also what I call a kind of a triangle bottleneck at North Cody and Howells Ferry, where North Cody actually kind of veers off into overlooking Howells Ferry. It's a nightmare. So I've already been tickling the ear of some of our mayoral candidates. I put it in my long-range plan to do that widening because we've got neighborhoods off North Cody, we've got churches and businesses, and people can't get in and out. So we really have to take a look at that. That's my next big project.
And is that something the city can do itself, or do you work with the county, pay as you go, that kind of thing?
It will have to be something that we partner. Pay as you go may be the best way to do it. So. Now that it's on the city's list, we'll have to start looking at, who can we partner with, design, when do we think we can do it as far as our 5-year planning goes. So this year's resurfacing is already done. Next year's is pretty well set, but with pay-as-you-go and with some state funding, I think that's the way that we will have to look at it. And that'll take a load off of everybody who lives out that way.
How do you see the crime situation in District 7?
District 7 is very fortunate that we don't experience the level of some of the gun violence that you see in other parts of the city, but we have it. We just had a shooting the other night in Hillsdale. A man shot somebody else. Apparently it was over something going on with his daughter. So, these things happen. And of course, we had the incidents where some kids were in Langen Park and found nothing better to do than, shoot at other cars. So we have those things happening in the district, and we just have to be very aware of what's going on in the city and in your neighborhoods. We have very active HOAs and community action groups, and they look out for one another. I would like to say it never happens or it wouldn't happen, but that's just not the case. So as a city council person, I work with my colleagues and whoever the next mayor will be to work on different programs and things to try to prevent the gun violence before it happens and before these kids or young adults find themselves in prison.
Yeah, we just have about a minute left. What are some of the big things going on in the city that you're excited about, not necessarily in District 7?
Oh, goodness. There's so much going on in the city. I'm excited to see Airbus expanding. I'm excited to see what's happening on the riverfront. Amtrak is coming back. We have the grand opening ceremony, if you will, next week for Amtrak. The train's going to start running, and there's just a lot going on. Of course, the Civic Center arena is underway, so a lot of those are legacy projects for the city. And I'm excited to see things happening in our city, the good things happening in our city. And if I could just have one tip to these mayoral candidates, talk a little bit more about what's positive in the city, what's going on in the city, and not all what you see as a negative, because Mobile really is a great place, and we've had a lot of growth and opportunity come our way. So there's a lot of good to build on, while also working on the things that we need to take a closer look at and resolve.
Absolutely. Okay, Gina Gregory running for City Council District 7. Thanks for being here.
15 minutes went awfully fast.
Good luck to you. And remember, everyone, Election Day is August 26th.